Okay, we're going to take a look now at the new enrolment interview tool that's been built into TrackEd. And I'm just going to show you firstly where to find this. So on the profile page under the page type selection, there's now an enrolment interview button. That will launch a new window, and that will be the enrolment interview profile for the group of students that you've got in your found set right now. So you'll be able to click through those students and see the information that's been collected during those enrolment interviews straight from TrackEd. So before you use this feature, we'd recommend going to the settings page and the interview tab. And here you can actually set up all of the labels that you'd like to collect information for. So firstly we have the other summary area, and we've got a few preset options that you can then modify. So for example, pre-entry test, musical theory, Pad M, Pad R. And these four here are actually available when you're doing your class building later as well. We have a section here that we've called student profile, but again you can change the labels for these areas. And we put in a starting list: strengths, weaknesses, sports, hobbies, reading interests, and so on. Diagnostics and programs is another area, and you can tailor that to what you need. And then we have an office use only, and these are just check boxes on the profile. So in this case we've got documents checked, follow-up required, flag for attention, no media, sibling at school, parent at school, in catchment, out of catchment, an Excel or an excellence program application, a music application, and we've got a couple of spare ones. So there's 12 different boxes that you can set up here. All of these are searchable, so you can actually show me how many out of catchment applications we've had at any point in time. And finally, you can set up your own feeder school list here and put in the names of the feeder schools in your area. Once that's been configured, back on the profile page here and into the enrolment interview tab, any new students that you create will have those labels that you've preset. Now if you've already created the students, you've done maybe a student summary import and you're wanting to change the labels that are on here, you can do that by updating the settings page and then choosing this update labels button. That'll give you the choice to update the labels for an individual student or for the found set of students. So you could actually update the labels for everyone in a cohort. Now just bear in mind, if you have already entered in data against labels and then you change them, that could cause a few issues. That's why we recommend setting up those lists before you start using this feature. But again, you can update that from year to year if you decide to collect a different lot of information. Just get the starting list updated before you start creating students or importing the student summary. So that is how you get started with a new cohort. You can choose the new student button, which will manually create a new student. You can enter in their student ID and all that basic set of information. Or if you've got a futures students list, you can import that from one school and that will populate that basic information: their English, Math, Science result, their Year 3 and 5 NAPLAN result, and a few of those things just to get you started. And then you can actually then add extra information during these interviews. So some schools will use this print blank option, and they'll print out a blank template here and actually handwrite the responses during the interview. Other schools will have this open in front of them and will be typing the responses straight in. And others still will use our export option here. So you can export an Excel template and then you can enter the information into the Excel and then import that through the import page, and that'll then update all of this information here. I didn't mention before learning support. We have both a checkbox on this side and we also have a verified checkbox on the right hand side. National data collection here as well. These labels can't be changed, so these are all been preset and that's what's available. Finally, down the bottom we have a medical information area here, and we also have a social interactions option here as well, and you can decide whether to show that or not. This is a bit of a manual process, so these are students that you'd want to keep together, students that you'd want to maybe keep separate, and again this is available when you're doing that class building a little bit later on. There is also a general notes option here hidden underneath the diagnostics and programs. So again, you can set up this profile to be exactly what you need for the context at your school. You can collect the information, and then that information is available in TrackEd at any time in the future for any student. You can go back and have a look at that enrolment interview profile. So I'm hoping that's going to be a useful addition.